say, going over this trailer to do my notes for this breakdown made me respect it. I wouldn't say like it more, but respect it more. I had 3 big takeaways from the trailer. One, Ezra Miller still got it. Fantastic actor. And Andy Muschietti at CinemaCon said as much. He said Ezra Miller's one of the best actors that Muschietti has ever worked with. And, we'll see what goes on, with the controversy that Miller has done. I think that, battling his own personal demons is one thing. I think it's the potential indoctrination of an underage girl that's I think really been the problematic issue. But I can see some of you already moving away from that. So I'm not sure if it'll hurt the film or not. But I think just within this trailer, and I suspect in the film too, Ezra Miller does a fantastic job, particularly playing multiple roles. I'll point out a couple of shots where he's really doing excellent work. Then the other thing is that you have a lot of evidence of because I'm Batman. The running gag that Batman can get away with and go up against characters that that are so much stronger than him, and he has no superpowers, and yet he's okay. And that's I love that because I'm Batman sentiment, because it's funny, but also it's true. And Batman fans are like, yeah, it is because he's Batman, and that's why we love him. And then I also feel that this trailer seems to have some really good story points, and I feel good about that. I feel good that the story seems to be very strong, and I have a couple of interesting observations to make with you. But back to Batman for a moment, and some of you even said watching this trailer that you were like, oh, okay, so it's a Batman movie, and it's funny to see what happened in animation, where Batman suddenly was in every movie, having that happen in live action. Although in the original Flashpoint story, Batman was a major character. And, the story did quite well, partially because, it was Thomas Wayne. It was Batman's father. In that universe, it was Bruce Wayne who had been killed, and his father turned into Batman, and his mother turned into Joker. Great story! Too bad we're not doing it. But they might have come up with something very interesting as the substitute. But Batman was in that story. But I one of my things that I feel about this ad campaign so far is that while it's good, they still haven't turned it up to an 11, in my opinion. And what would constitute an 11? For me, that's like that shot in the Batman trailer with, the Penguin's car turned upside down and Batman walking towards the camera. That was incredible. Or also the Loki trailer, where there were multiple Lokis, and you saw President Loki from the comics front and center. But yeah, I'm a Batman and Loki fan, and I think there are similarities between those two characters. So you're starting to get a good idea, if you don't already, about the kind of characters I like. But maybe if you're a Flash fan, does this trailer so far, does this ad campaign so far have a shot like that for you? I'd be very curious. Maybe that's why I'm not totally connecting with this movie. I'm not a Flash fan. Before his problems, I was an Ezra Miller fan, so I guess that's why his performance gets me excited. I like Michael Keaton a lot, but I think we've moved past his. I'm into Robert Pattinson's Batman. I'm into Pattinson's. Battinson. That was the name you guys came up with, Battinson. And so I'm on Battinson right now. So, Michael Keaton's a fun distraction, but I'm not like, yeah, and I, one thing I wanted to point, so yeah, I think that maybe the reason this campaign can't get to an 11 is because I'm not a Flash fan. But it might be able to do really well at the box office, because I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan either. Look how well that did. 2 Multiverse of Madness movies, which I both thought were not as good as they could have been. Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home. Not 10 plus movies in my opinion. But Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home did incredible at the box office. Incredible! So maybe this will too. And it was supposed to come before those films. Warner Brothers greenlit Flashpoint in 2016, and Rick Famuyiwa was supposed to direct, who just did a killer job on the last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian this season. And also, speaking of directors, I heard that Andy Muschietti is in talks to potentially direct Brave and the Bold. That rumor is true, but he hasn't signed on. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if they'll wait. I don't know if they can take the time to wait to see how this does, but I would if I were them. If I were James Gunn and Peter Safran, I would wait to see how this movie does. As much as they might be high on Andy Muschietti right now, they don't know how we feel about him. And then Marvel and Sony's movies, I think, had this feeling that anything could happen. Anyone could show up and stick around, potentially. But here, they've cut out the Snyderverse stuff, right? The Ben Affleck tease for another Flash movie where he goes in search of Batfleck. And I think they've instead decided to do more deep cuts. That I think hardcore, like, back of the comic book store fans will get. Like James Gunn would probably be like, oh, those are great. But I don't know if even, comic book fans like myself, some of you have said, Grace, you're not a DC fan, you're a Batman, Superman fan. And, I really like Batman and Superman, to be honest with you. I like the darkness of DC, and I know some of you prefer some of the lighter characters, which makes no sense to me. But, I'm open to coming to like them. And this film's still not done. So even though I think almost all the cameos are going to leak, because they're showing it at CinemaCon, like right now, all the cameos are going to leak, it's not done. So they could still sprinkle a couple more in if they needed to. And I would actually advise them to, because I think it sucks to have everything leak in advance. And as of right now, no Michelle Pfeiffer. That's not Michelle Pfeiffer in the trailer. That's Michael Keaton, that all of you keep asking about. And I thought it might have been Michelle Pfeiffer too, but I found out it's Michael Keaton. Also, speaking of Michael Keaton, his Batman movies were in 1989 and 1992. That was a long time ago. For instance, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade came out also in 1989. What a year! It's so funny. Like right now, we think about these big franchises coming out simultaneously in the same year and comparing how the movies did. But just think, 1989 was one of those movies. You got a Batman and an Indiana Jones. Wow! But a lot of you recently have said you've never seen an Indiana Jones movie, which is why the new Indiana Jones maybe isn't getting quite the traction that some people would expect. So I think maybe Michael Keaton's Batman might be the same situation. There are people who are like, wow, this is amazing. This is Hollywood history right there coming back to life. And other people being like, who is that? I don't know her. For comparisons, because Spider-Man No Way Home did very well, you're a whole decade later. Tobey Maguire was 2002 to 2007. Andrew Garfield had 2012 and 2014. And then, of course, you had Tom Holland. That was the brilliance of that. And that you had multiple Spider-Men who spanned multiple generations, and everybody then showed up. And here, when it comes to Batman, they didn't really do that, And I think with the exception of Bale, I don't really know if there's any, and Ben Affleck, I don't know how many Batman fans really want to revisit. So, it's an interesting question. Also, I think June, I wish somebody would move. I don't think they're going to, because they've all promoted their movies too much at this point, but I wish someone would move. As we discussed on the live stream earlier, March was way too crowded, and I think movies suffered because of it at the box office. Movies suffered. So I'd like to see, get Indiana Jones out of there, quite frankly. I don't know who should move, but I don't think it's good for any of them that they're all jam-packed in there. All right, so let's break down this trailer. Okay, thanks for going over it with me. I have some cool stuff to point out to you. Now, some of you have asked why they do these little short, tiny trailers. That's because they're going to double up and use this as an ad to run on other YouTube channels, and that's the non-skip section. But I don't think it helps that this is footage from the other trailer. You're like, what? I've already seen all this. This is a little new. Look at that Bat computer. I'm really glad they gave him a proper Bat computer. When I rewatch the old Michael Keaton Batman movies, I'm like, that Bat computer is embarrassing. Because, they couldn't dream up today's technology. Although I have to say, Batman the Animated Series dreamed up a pretty nice Bat computer that, in fact, looks a lot like that. And so they, Tim Burton, I guess, was not into technology very much, which tracks, quite frankly, But that's a Bat computer. Oh, it looks great. I can see the memory lane right now. All right. So he's talking about parents, and the loss of his parents made him who he was, and that fighting crime. Batman's very much the type of person who would say, I'd love to have my parents back, but if it hurt a single other person, I don't want to do it. That's very much, Batman's ethos, But I don't know if the Flash feels that way. Although I have a theory on the Flash in this situation as well, which I'll discuss at the appropriate moment in this trailer. But I stopped here because I like seeing all the suits. And the two on the end, on the right there, are very action figure-y, right? You got like scuba Batman suit and skydiving Batman suit. And so I think that's funny, especially when you think of the 90s. So he's like, they're my suits. I think he looks great, by the way. Everybody was being so mean about Michael Keaton, being like, oh, we don't want him to be Batman. What is he, Grandpa Batman? And he looks phenomenal. Hasn't skipped a beat. He totally is capable of doing the role, although I do have a joke about it later. All right, it's too easy. All right, so He's like, you actually did it. You actually brought your parents back. And I think that's a beautiful moment. And I think Barry's not only moved at the realization of that, right? Being like, wow, yeah, I did do that. I did something Batman couldn't even do. But I think he's also moved by the nod of respect from Batman of all people, who, Barry clearly thinks a lot of. And so he's like, he's like, you did good, kid. And I think that's a really beautiful moment. And both actors play it really well. Batman just says it very, very, no strings attached. It's a genuine compliment, and I think that's great. By the way, something that occurred to me while breaking down this trailer. They're all orphans. Didn't realize that until I was watching this trailer. Batman, The Flash, and Supergirl, of course, who lost her parents on Krypton. That is phenomenal. That's fascinating to me. Now, some of you might be like, Supergirl lived on the neighboring planet, thank you very much. But this is, even though she has the name, I believe they've switched out the character so that there never was a Superman who was sent to this Earth. It was a female who was sent to this Earth. And so, they don't want to come up with a female version, I guess, of Kal-El, so they went with the Supergirl name. But I don't think there is a Kal-El in this universe. All right, but anyway, I think that's great. It makes it even more sense to pick these three characters. With Sasha Calle, looks like she's doing a phenomenal job here. I'm very happy for her. She looks great, really good performance. But I do feel if they had a CGI emaciated Henry Cavill, I think this movie might have a little more spark to it with the fans. All right, so I do love the VFX for The Flash. So they're like, I think I'm not sure who's talking here, but he's suffered tremendous loss. He lost both his parents. His father went to jail because his father was, they said he was guilty of killing his mother. So it was assassination of character. And he's real sad about it. He's lost them both. And, again, I'm not a big Flash fan, so I'm like, oh, I didn't know you felt that bad about your parents. Interesting. I'm like, I don't think all the characters can feel bad about losing their parents. And DC's like, yes, they can. But yeah, trying to bring his mother back was the whole reason for Flashpoint. So he does still run funny, but I've seen some theories trying to defend him, saying that he's running with such force that maybe that's part of the reason that he can't quite control his legs. Like when he pushes off each time, it's such force that he's still trying to kind of gain his balance and put his foot back down. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. We'll go with it. So there he goes. And that's a gorgeous suit. I love that it lights up. It's got kind of thumbhole lines on it. It lights up. It looks real good. I'm like, that is a nice suit. I think his build seems more muscular than Ezra Miller. So I'm just gonna go with the him pronouns because I'm talking about the character, I guess, and I'll try to be respectful of the pronouns. But yeah. I think it's a different build than Ezra Miller than they seem to have it in real life. But a kind of build that Andy Muschietti seems into. Nobody really seems to remember, thank goodness, that he did that crazy cover where he was like, oh yeah, Flash is totally naked under there. And you're just like Scarlett Johansson when people are asking you about her Black Widow costume. It's like, she was like, what do you care? Okay? It's like, that seems like an odd detail that nobody really was wondering about. So yes, he has changed. By bringing back his mother. Now there's a situation where the Zod invasion from Man of Steel, without Henry Cavill, is back on. It's back on. The party's back on, man. By the way, look, Martha Wayne Institute on the building there. Love it. Okay, I would love it if they did a tease to Martha Joker. All right, so it's not good. It's not good. And another reference, do you know what this stands for? Just like Superman said that to Lois. But because Barry's talked to his Clark, he knows. But he says still, he's not showing off. He's like, I know your culture. It means hope, right? And I think, again, Ezra Miller, they do a fantastic job. They do a fantastic job with that line. And there's the other Barry from this universe who doesn't have any powers yet. Hold on, they're going to show that in the trailer, in fact. I like that. She's like, that's right, it does mean hope. She looks great. She looks really cool. Nice makeup job on her. Not too much, but still looking good. She looks great. I think we have the same shade of lipstick. Sasha Calle. You look great. All right, so she says, I will help you fight Zod. She looks cool there, too. I think the VFX look good. Now, this was my favorite part when he said, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And again, he looks great, you know? And so look, so they draw, this is great. So this is another nice little, these are small little references that I think only DC fans would be like, oh, that's nice. But still, you're not like, yeah, although maybe some of you are. But I'm like, intellectually, that's nice. They don't pull on the heartstrings. So the Batmobile says delivery. And just like that famous race, which of course has been referenced before because it's so famous, Superman, although I like the joke where Batman joins the race. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's so funny. But you know, the Flash and Superman have a race. But here you can see they're running together too. And they do the slide. The CGI slide. Not one of those is real, I think. Not one of those people is real. I think those are all CGI devils. And I shouldn't be able to tell that easily, but I can. All right, so there's our the Snyderverse Flash on the left, Sasha Calle with the thumb holes as Supergirl, looking so great. And then that's the Barry of this universe, Michael Keaton's universe, who now has powers. And some of you have been like, oh, where's the villain for this film? Why haven't we seen them yet? And I would be like, I think you have. That's all I'm going to say. I like they have different color lighting, blue versus yellow. The colors of the movie posters, like the colors that everybody likes. And so I think that's good they went with them. So June 16th. So there they are. I think that's the facility where Supergirl's being held at night. So I guess the operation takes all night. And he's like, I think he's starting to realize that he's going to have to give up his mom. And there's Bruce being like, a very Batman-y speech of like, the horrible things that happen to us, they shape us, but don't let your tragedy define you either. And so he's dropping himself off. Special delivery again. And so I think this is just a small sequence. But here's another good reference, another good intellectual reference. Here you have, I think that is the Barry of this Earth, okay? Let's just call him the new Barry. I think that he's being flown up by a Supergirl for the final blast, which is going to give him his powers. And it's funny because, it's also, funny in a good way, but that's a great reference to the Crisis on Infinite Earths classic cover where Superman is holding Supergirl. So you pay homage to that, but it's also a gender flip. Not only is Superman flipped to Supergirl, but she's carrying a male character, the Flash. So I appreciate it. Again, I'm not like, it doesn't bring a tear to my eye, but intellectually, I'm like, a nice reference. I like what you did there. So everybody's getting electrocuted. Whoa. And I got to tell you, every time Ezra Miller, they really sell it. They really sell it. And she's like, what did you do? She too is like, perhaps we should have messed with the timeline. And so I'm wondering what's going on here with Zod. He seems to already be kind of stuck to the bottom of this. And good thing he has got that face cover. So right in the kisser. She's exhausted. And Batman, you're going to see, is exhausted in a moment. But first, he's going to take all these bullet holes to the back. Right? I'm sure this Batman will feel it. He'll be like, oh, I hope you appreciate this, Barry. Looking down at him as it happens. I'm like, can't you run real fast, Barry? Go catch all these bullets. All right, so there's another Batman. Now, I love that. Look at the leap. Isn't that great? Running up the side of the building. I think that's really cool. I think that's really well done. I like that. And it's very almost, like ballet, very dance. So I think it's interesting. You have Ezra Miller, who is not an athlete, playing an athletic character. And I think Ezra Miller has brought a lot of more artistic ideas to depicting the Flash instead of just the more classic athletic connotations that I think a lot of fans have put onto the character over the years. And I kind of like the artistic choices. I kind of like them. But I like changing things up. But as we all saw in The Last Jedi, a lot of fans do not care for that. So look at that. That's hilarious. He looks like he's really on the win there. I hope it's going to work out for him. But it will, because it's Batman. But he's really getting thrown around by that explosion. He's like, whoo, it's a good thing these wings are so sturdy. But that's really funny to me. So there is the new Barry getting the powers. I think they're probably like, what if we had two Flashes? Let's recreate the experiment. And woo! Because I think it's the same red shoes on the bottom there and the jeans. And he's like, whoa, I feel that, boy. And so here, our Barry is saying, this, we're not going to be able to fix this. This is not going well. And it reminds me, I rewatched Frasier during the pandemic. And there was a really great, funny sequence where Niles wanted to fix a crease in his pants, and he ended up lighting his brother's sofa on fire through a chain of events. Like, it just got worse and worse and worse, to the point where you were like, should have just kept the wrinkle. And I think that's very much kind of like what's going on with the Flash. And so, you know, it's like you can change things, but at what cost? And the situation just gets totally out of control, and you find yourself paying so many costs, perhaps, you know, equal to or greater than the cost you originally paid. So that's interesting. So he's like, whoa, abort. But Newberry, who really I don't think has probably suffered any tragedy or as much, is not okay with this. So they're the same guy, you know, they're both Barry, but they've had very different lives. Look at the acting on that. They really seem like different people. That's really impressive. I'm impressed. All right, now look at that. I love this. He's like, whoo, I'm just going to take a breather for just a minute. Just give me a minute. I think he's supposed to be, obviously, like, it's a big dramatic moment if he's depleted. But it does seem like, you know, he's like, just give me a minute. Whoa, this is taking a long time. I didn't think we'd be out here for this long. So I just think that's funny. I like the profile on Batman is fascinating, this Batman. It's like more so than we've ever seen before. The nose and the ears are really accentuated. It's almost like, but to me in a way that where it's more like the suit is wearing Michael Keaton than Michael Keaton is wearing the suit. I don't know how, I have mixed feelings on it. And so he's like, nobody dies. So I think this is Zod. Really armored up Zod, who's going to do a Thanos and says, I'll take care of it myself. So there he goes, and he says, I'll take on the Batmobile, and he goes right through the ceiling, and Batman's like, all right, time to get out of here, boy. And that's hilarious, right? He's like, yeah, you know what? Throw Zod at me, no problem, I'm fine. So he's, you know, he's also got sturdy wings. I wonder if they'll have a lot of parallels between the two Batmen and the tactics that they used. But there goes the bat plane, almost hits him. But I wonder if when, well, I don't think Alfred's around anymore, but as it goes down, I wonder if, you know, Bruce Wayne's like, that's like $30 million, man. That's so expensive fighting crime. I mean, especially with everyone's, when he does Justice League level events, he's like, you guys, you got to help me out a little bit here. I mean, like, my cost ratio is ridiculous. I mean, like, it's so expensive. And also, how long does it take to build a bat plane? I'm sure maybe he has one on reserve as a backup, but wow. And then you have all the symbols. Orphans. They should have just called it orphans, like the Flash. I loved this. I thought this was great. He's like, your parachutes are built into your suit or strapped in. And I love Ezra Miller's delivery of, where's your suit? I mean, where's your parachute? I think he does it so well. And look how different they look. Right? Isn't that phenomenal? Like, I think that for some reason in this instance, even in other sequences, he's wearing the new Barry takes on one of Batman's old suits and repurposes it. Here, I think that's our Barry on the left because he's more serious. Because remember, the new Barry was sitting on the right in the other trailer where he was taking a photo of Supergirl with his phone. So I think, like, I'm not quite sure why the wrong one seems to have the suit on. But it's very funny. There are different reactions to this situation. He's like, woo, here we go. And he's really into it. And I think that's funny. And of course, they have that great thing with the moon and the bat plane making the bat signal again. Oh, it looks great. It really comes into focus there for a minute. That's great. Look at Batman go. Look at Batman go. That's hilarious. All right, so yeah, as I said, I'm not like blown away, but intellectually, I'm like, you might have something there. So what do you think? What do you think, especially now that we've gone through it? And do you think any of these shots are an 11? And if so, why do you think you do? Is it because you're a fan of the character, of the universe, etc.? I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts. All right, share them down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.